Hello there. Welcome once again to Thought Architecture, the place where we take you through mental frameworks to be able to help you increase change in your life and pleasure with change. All right. So in this episode, I'm going to take you through what I call the 4 quadrants of change, where what I found this solves, the problem that this solves, is the problem of perfect programming, perfectionism. So this is a big deal. A lot of people just want to do something and do it well and come up with, a perfect way to do it. And so what this means is that they usually come up with a perfect program. They hire a professional to create a perfect program, or they come up with it themselves. Okay, great. There's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely not. But, here's where it comes in. We are not perfect. We can never be perfect. We need to increase our abilities in certain ways. So number one is the more information available to you, the better you're going to become. So you can't just consume all the information in one go and just be great. There's going to be gaps, holes in your knowledge. You're going to have a certain amount of information, but maybe there's a different way that you can interpret that information as well. So in the beginning, you interpret it in one way, and then after 3 years of doing the thing, you start interpreting the information in a different way. So knowledge is going to change. And so it's never going to be perfect from the onset, number one. Number two is that the more that you engage with something, the more you increase your skills in that thing as well. Well, what's going to happen is as your abilities increase, you're going to get better at doing the thing. So that means starting off perfect is impossible. With muscle memory, like you can't just be perfect the first time that you try something. Number three, with your experiences, it'll change how you interact with material as well. So you may think that you're perfect. You may have like perfect knowledge and perfect training, let's say with a language. And then you go and speak to someone who speaks that language naturally. And all of a sudden, they're not speaking the language like they should be speaking. Should in, air quotes, should be speaking the language. Because often native speakers of a language, speak very colloquially, and they don't speak the grammatically correct versions of the language. And so the real life applications of whatever it is that you're trying to increase your abilities in actually are very different from what you've gotten from textbooks, books, etc. So in these ways, we've got all of these different things that we need to be doing. Now, in the previous podcast episode, I talked about the 3 metrics that I measure, and I usually apply this to those three metrics. Okay, so what is it? It's what I call the 4 quadrants. And the 4 quadrants are just very simply put, what are your time and energy budgets? That's it. And this perfectionism thing is based on the anti-perfectionist approach is the iterative approach. We create iterations, iteration 1, iteration 2, iteration 3. And please remember that as a human being, iteration 2 isn't guaranteed to be better than iteration 1. All right? So when you try and attempt something, you could be taking a step backwards because maybe you didn't have enough sleep the night before. It might be inferior because you're still in recovery. It might be inferior because you're super stressed. It might be inferior because, I don't know, you ate, a closed pistachio for lunch or something like that. And now it's having, like flatulence effects on you. I don't know. There could be any number of factors that influence you. And so what this is looking at how do we create a program where we are balanced in these 4 quadrants. Okay, time and energy budgets. So on one of the squares of the quadrant, we've got what if you've got a lot of time and what if you've got a lot of energy? And that's usually what most people assume is going to be the idealistic version of it. Like, oh, I'm perfect energy, perfect spirits to really start this, and I've got enough time for me to do the thing that I want to do. Great. So it's the ideal quadrant. What does my ideal program look like? Unfortunately, most people do not live 90% of their lives with enough time and enough energy to do the things that they want to do. And if you do, congratulations. I would love to hear from you and find out how you actually approach your life, because you are literally hacking things that other people are struggling with. So that being said, I want you to remember that the ideal is great. Now, other people have some variance on this. Like, what is the ideal? Well, maybe the ideal is minimal, like what's my minimum effective dose? Maybe the ideal is maximal, like how much can I get if I just put in like 8 hours a day? That's great. So your ideals are going to be different. So don't stress about that. But that's your perfect time, your perfect energy. Okay, now the opposite end of the quadrants is going to be the idea of like, what happens if you have like almost no time and almost no energy? You're tired, you're flat, and you're so busy. You've got so many other things to do. So what can you do? And that's where we get our no time, no energy, or little time, little energy program. As in, if you've got 8 exercises that you need to do, what's one exercise that you can do that's just going to be a little bit of time spent in that domain? And it's going to be something that's usually going to be a little bit more invigorating. We can talk about energy types, and we can talk about things that consume your energy versus or constrict your energy, let's say, versus things that dilate your energy or open your energy up as well. Things that give you a little bit more energy, let things flow a little bit easier. And usually in these cases, you want to try and find some form of programming that hits that nail on the head. So if we're talking about real life examples here, cardio for me, if I have perfect time, perfect energy, I'm going to spend half an hour to an hour doing like, hard pedaling on the stationary bike that we've got. Great. And in an imperfect world, if I'm doing the opposite where I'm super busy, plus I'm tired, I'm feeling a little bit like, ugh, the minimums that I'll do is usually about 10 to 12 minutes on the bike, very low intensity, and just put the reps per minute a little bit higher. So my legs are moving, but it's not a strain at all. And that helps me get some blood going, and it helps invigorate me for the next activity that I'm going to be doing. And I can probably, because I'm not paying attention to, intervals or getting my watts up or maintaining a certain pace, I usually, couple that together with doing something else that's also quite relaxing, listening to a podcast, an audiobook, having a conversation with a friend while I'm pedaling. So there we go. Okay. So we've got our less than perfect time and energy, and then we've also got our perfect time, perfect energy. But what happens if you're in one of the other two quadrants? So one of them is going to be, I have tons of energy, but I have very limited time. And so in this case, we're looking for our high intensity interval kind of training. What does that look like? Well, physically, that's easy. You're doing high intensity for short time. There's a Tabata workout, which is 20 seconds of intense effort for a 10-second rest interval, and you do that 8 times. And so it's literally 4 minutes and you are finished. So 4 minutes of effort and you have literally done what you need to do. That's great. So what does high intensity look like? These interval training, high intensity things, if you're learning a language, if you are trying to write a book, if you are managing a business, starting up things, doing brainstorming sessions, whatever it is, there is a high intensity version out there that you can do, but it requires energy and you can usually do it very quickly. Okay, great. And then the last one is then going to be the opposite end of the quadrant, where you have absolutely no energy, you are flat, but maybe it's a Saturday and you've got a lot of time on your hands. With a lot of time on your hands, what could you do? And this tends to be a little bit more passive in its execution. It tends to be a little bit more consumption, or perhaps something that's participatory, as in like it doesn't rely on you to really fuel it. So something with friends shared, it's usually something that it's not going to be intense for you, and you're looking forward to doing it, perhaps because you've got the time and the effort. You might as well. So with those 4 quadrants, we can actually create a game plan. Well, what are you going to do if you're super busy and you're super tired? What's your minimums? Let's put your minimums down. And what are you going to do if you've got the perfect time, perfect energy? What are your maximums? Okay. And then, based on the previous podcast, I told you that I help people create, a game plan for their goals. And the goals are usually balanced around these ideas of, well, how many sessions did you do a week? And a session could be a perfect session, as in like we go to that ideal quadrant. Or a session could just be your minimums, as in we go to that quadrant of like little time, little energy. And it doesn't matter what your sessions were. What matters is, did you do 5 sessions a week, let's say? And in this case, what we're talking about is very simply the idea of helping a person see what the signal is coming from their body. Am I tired today? Yes. Do I have a lot of time today? Yes. Okay, cool. Well, I've got a lot of time and I'm tired. Okay, well, let me just do this. Because a little bit of restful, indulgence in that domain is going to be better than not going into that domain as well. And so please understand that while a lot of this has got to do around action that you can take, like I keep talking about cycling, there are also research actions that you can take. Where, for example, I've got a lot of time, but I've got very little energy. Okay, great. Well, let me do research. How to increase my strategy so that I'm more excited about taking time to actually do what I'm trying to do. What I mean by this is, very simply put, knowledge is one of the things that we could increase, as well as ability, which is a procedural knowledge, as well as experiences. So let's say you've got a lot of time, you've got perfect energy, and you just really want to do something that connects with a group of people. Well, great, going and doing cardio in a group, that's fantastic as well. So we really have these 4 quadrants of time and energy and high and low with these that we can look at. And one of the biggest things to see is then, all right, cool. I don't care if you do 30 seconds or 30 minutes or 30 hours of activity. It all counts as one session. So the amount of time spent doesn't matter. What we want, if we are managing your change, is time spent in the domain. And what are the usual blocks for this? It's, well, I don't have enough time. Okay, great. Let's get around that by finding the quadrants where we have little time. Oh, I don't have a lot of energy. I don't have extra energy at the end of the day. I'm so tired. Okay, so what can we do if we have no time, no energy? What can we do if we have time and energy? What can we do if we're trying to make this a group activity? Oh, I don't want to isolate myself. That's fine. It doesn't matter. What's your energy? All right, let's put that together with now group or isolation activities as well. What can you do if you're on your own? What can you do then? There are 4 more modifications that I make for people in this case as well. And so these 4 more modifications are just bonus modifications. Modification number 1, what could you do with 0 material? So I call this the 0 protocol with an X because it's cool to spell with X as Z. So the 0 protocol is based around minimalist. How could you learn a language with almost no materials on you? Maybe just your phone, minimum requirements. How can you exercise your body with no equipment? How could you cook with only a pot and a pan and cook amazing food? So really the zero program is designed to create limitations around what you're doing, to give you a lot of confidence that you can actually produce things with limitations, healthy, very good limitations. So that's the 0. Then we've got what I call the home program. So I want you to imagine if we're doing exercise, we can talk about like what are things that you can normally find in a home gym. Let's say a set of dumbbells, a kettlebell, a sandbag, or something like that. Most people have this in their homes. And so a home program, so if again, we're talking about, language learning, like what books are available to you at home? What are things that you could expect to see in a language learner's house, like maybe programs that they've got. So that's great. So we've got the minimum program, the 0 program. We've got the home program. After that, a travel program. Okay, great. What are you going to take with you when you travel? How are you going to exercise when you travel? How are you going to learn a language when you travel? And this could be a mix between the home and the 0 protocols, but it could invite some great opportunities as well. So the travel program is another one. And then the final one is what I call the professional program. If you had unlimited resources, you had like everything that you ever wanted. So I want you to imagine that you are, working out. A professional program would look like you going to a specialized gym and having a specialized coach that you're paying usually an arm and a leg for. But that arm and a leg affords you some great results. So the idea is that usually what most people consider to be the ideal of perfect energy, perfect time, they also couple that together with a professional program as well. Like, I want to go to someone who knows what they're doing. That's great, but it's not sustainable. You can't afford this type of stuff all the time. So just how do you increase your time in the domain and increase your abilities before you even hit that coach? So once again, just reiterating, what are your 4 quadrants? Time versus energy. Little time, little energy. Lots of time, lots of energy. Little time, lots of energy. Lots of time, little energy. And then how do we manipulate it after that? We create a 0 program where we need almost nothing. A home program where we've got a comfortable amount. A travel program where, again, we're restricting ourselves. We might go to our limited one, but it provides us with a change of area, which provides us with other opportunities as well. And then finally, a professional program where we're hiring professionals and we're in very specialized environments. Okay, so those are the 4 modifications on programs that I highly recommend to everyone. Now, if this all seems like a pain in the buttocks for you, you're more than welcome to reach out to me. I always offer a complimentary call where I'll try and do as much as I can and add as much value to you in a single session. If it's something that you want guidance with and you want some assistance and some support, I do offer my services. So please check out all the links that I've attached. And usually the links for contact are in the website, www.justinnoppe.com, which is NOPPE.com. Please feel free to reach out. Like, even if it's just quick questions, I'm very happy to answer and interact with people, because I like to hear what are the problems, the pains that people are encountering when they're trying to solve their own problems. And it also increases the amount of content that I can create that could help more people like that. So please feel free to reach out. And like I said, I'm available if you want some coaching around this as well. You want some guidance around this, some consulting around this. Very, very comfortable to do this. That's it for today. Please feel free to like, share, subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're consuming this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please leave us a review or a 5-star rating. That would greatly help us get the message out and allow other people to benefit from any value. And I think one of the biggest things is make sure that you share this with someone that it could start a great interaction and discussion with. That's one of my greatest goals with this type of content, is to get shared content out there that people just share and engage with each other, and we create a better community together. Great. Well, my name is Justin. This has been Thought Architecture, and I will see you in the next one. Ta-ta for now.